I'm not going to get upset in this video because that's silly. Hi guys, so I'm sitting down to talk to you about a health update. Now, I've mentioned this a few times on Instagram and it's taken me a while to finally talk about it, but I think I'm ready to talk about it now. If there's anyone that's new here, my name is Georgia and I was recently diagnosed with Polycystic Ovary Syndrome. I'm afraid this video isn't going to be so much educational about PCOS because I was only recently diagnosed with it, so I really don't know too much about it, which is kind of why I wanted to create this video, so that we can all learn from each other if you're going through the same thing, and we can all help each other learn. So I'm still in the process of researching and finding out how I can kind of live with PCOS, but I just wanted to share more of my story and my diagnosis and the symptoms I had. So I'm just going to start from the beginning and talk about how this all came about. So say from probably the age of 14, I've been having severe menstrual cramps, not just your regular kind, to the point where I faint from the pain, I vomit because I'm in so much pain, and I will literally just be rolling around on the floor crying for around 3 hours. I can't imagine that giving birth is any worse than what I experienced, and if it is, then oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm gonna cope. But I can only explain it as contractions. Like, I would literally call them contractions because it would come in waves every minute or so, and they would die down again and then they would come back really strong. So it felt kind of like contractions, and then after maybe an hour or so the pain would just be constant pain. It's just something I remember struggling with when I first got my period as a teenager, and at that age I think you just think it's normal, you know, everyone your age is kind of experiencing period pains and starting their period, and it just seemed like it was probably normal, although my friends didn't seem to be in as much pain as I was, but I just thought it was normal. So I actually went on the contraceptive pill at the age of 15. So for the next 10 years, I would say, I was on the contraceptive pill. This really helped to die down my period pains. I didn't have them as severely. I was still getting quite a lot of pain, but they were definitely less severe than when I was off the pill. And in terms of like my flow, I would always say it was just very regular, very normal, never a heavy flow, which is why I thought, well, why am I getting so much pain if I'm just having like a normal light flow? It kind of made me feel like I should be like gushing with blood. I was in that much pain, but it wasn't like that at all. So I also thought that was a bit strange as well. So a few years went by, well, 10 years went by, and it wasn't until a couple of years ago, so I was 25, yeah, 24, 25, that I decided I wanted to come off the pill. I've read a lot about the pill not necessarily being that great for you, and I didn't want to pump my body with you know, hormones anymore. I just wanted to get my body back to its natural cycle. It's kind of relevant, but before I went on the pill, my whole teenage life, even when I was on the pill to be honest, I was a very, I would say, like, misunderstood teenager. My mood swings were crazy. I honestly felt like there was a big black cloud following me around. I guess you could say that I did feel depressed a lot of the time, and my mood swings were just crazy. I was always really, really down and moody, and I just couldn't shift it. And I just like, I even went to the doctors a few over the years because we were concerned as to why was I so low, why I was so down, and it almost felt like there was some kind of hormonal imbalance, which is why we were concerned. We went to the doctors, and you know, they kind of, I think they just brushed it off, like nothing really came of it. So as I evolved into my 20s, I think it definitely got easier, but I know that from like, I would say like 13 up till like early 20s, I was definitely felt very, very low. So a couple of years ago, yeah, I decided to come off the pill. Now, as soon as I came off the pill, I don't think I had a natural period for about 5 or 6 months, which was so strange because every month I was just waiting for my period, like, come on, is it gonna come? But it took about 5 or 6 months to finally get my first period, and in this time I'd lost weight. I definitely lost a lot of weight from coming off the pill. I even came down 2 cup sizes, so there was a few differences. As for my mood, I don't think it really changed too much, but one thing I did experience with my first period was unbelievable cramps again. So the cramps came back, and like I said, I hadn't experienced them that intense for maybe around 10 years, so I just assumed that I would have grown out of it by now. I just thought, you know, that was a teenage thing and there's no way that I would get them that intense again. But I was wrong, and they came back. I've had just some really shitty incidences. So like, I would collapse at the train station because I was just in so much pain. I collapsed in the toilets. Someone had to come help me out. Fainting, vomiting. One night I spent 3 hours in bed at like 3 AM at night, just crying and rolling around and vomiting, just in so much pain, and there was nothing I could do about it. I think I took like 4 Panadol, nothing worked, like painkillers weren't working, and it was just horrendous. It got to the point, and it was just a couple of months ago actually, that again I collapsed at work in the toilet, and you know, my colleagues had to come help me out, and it's embarrassing, and I just thought I shouldn't be having to deal with this at 27 years old. So I decided to go to the doctors. So I went back to the doctors in December just gone, and I basically said, like, I want an ultrasound because I don't think this is normal, especially for someone my age. I want an ultrasound because what I'd read is that it could be due to cysts. Now when I thought of cysts, I just thought of like one cyst. Like, I had no idea, you know, how many could have, so I just thought, oh, like, you probably have like one cyst, but I wasn't sure how it would affect my period pain, like how it was relating. So I went for an ultrasound a couple of weeks later. They did an ultrasound on my stomach, and then they also did an internal ultrasound where they put this really scary like contraption up you and do an internal scan. That wasn't very nice. So I asked the lady who was doing the ultrasound if she saw anything abnormal, and she said that she definitely doesn't see any signs of endometriosis. So obviously the scan has to go off to a specialist, so she isn't allowed to say anything, but she just said to me, I don't see any signs of endometriosis, which is what I thought I had, because I actually hadn't heard of PCOS before, so I thought it was maybe okay news, and yeah, so that was that. So a couple of weeks later, I went back to the surgery and they had my results. Now the doctor that I was seeing at the time wasn't in, so I had a younger male doctor. In hindsight, I should have just waited for my regular doctor to come back, because I'll tell you why. So he sat me down and he basically just told me that I have Polycystic Ovary Syndrome, which means that I have cysts in my ovaries. Now what this means is that it may be harder for you now to conceive as well, and as a woman, like, that's just, well, as a woman that wants to have a family, I just feel like that's the worst thing you could hear. Just the way he delivered it was very casual, like it just wasn't a big deal. He was just like, yeah, and you probably find it harder to get pregnant, and yeah, that was basically it. And I just was like, okay, that's definitely not what I want to hear, and what the hell is PCOS? Like, I had no idea. And then he put up my scan and he was like, yeah, so they found up to 16 cysts in both your ovaries, and he showed me the ovaries with the cysts, and he was literally like counting the cysts. He was like, yeah, 1 2 3 4 5 6. And just the way he delivered the news was just really insensitive, and what I wanted to do was just like cry, because I was like, what? I thought I would have maybe like one cyst. Like, I had no idea that you could even have that many, or that I would have over 15 cysts in each ovary. And it's still horrible to say, like, I'm not gonna get upset in this video because that's silly, but as you can imagine, it was a bit of a shock, and I was really upset. I took the day off work and just felt like he sent me away with no information. He didn't even give me a leaflet, like just no further information. It was kind of just like, yep, you've got it, so now you know, you've got to live with it. I was like, is there anything I can do to can we remove the cyst or whatever? And he said, you know, you may need to have some removed if you're struggling to fall pregnant, but if you want to start talking about conceiving, then you should go see a gynecologist or a specialist to talk about it. And that was kind of it, and gave me my scan, and that was that. So I haven't been back to see anyone since, so as you can imagine, I'm kind of in limbo at the minute. I've read a lot of things online about how diet and exercise is key to kind of living with PCOS. It's all about lowering your insulin level, but it's very confusing. There's lots of different things. Basically, we produce more testosterone, I guess, than a normal woman, and these cysts are actually eggs that are stuck in my ovaries, so they are eggs that didn't get released. Luckily for me, I don't have a lot of the symptoms that comes with PCOS. So it's things like severe period pain, which is obviously the only real telltale sign that I had. The other one is facial hair. A lot of women suffer with facial hair and body hair. Another one is unable to shift weight. So it's very hard for them to lose weight, even, you know, as much as you exercise, the weight kind of just lingers on your body. Obviously, the main one would be that you hardly ever get a period. So some women only get a period maybe every 5 or 6 months. Now, obviously, when I first came off the pill, that was the case with me, but luckily I'm back on a regular cycle. So my cycle is now back to normal, and I'm having a period once a month. Obviously, that still comes with pain. So the only thing that he prescribed to me for dealing with the pain, he asked me if I wanted to go back on the pill, and I just thought, why would I want to go back on the pill when, number one, you just told me it's harder for me to conceive now, and I know how long it took me to get my cycle back to normal after I came off the pill, so why would I go back on the pill? And then he basically just said that he's prescribing it for the pain, so he suggests I go back on it so I don't have such severe cramps. So I just said no. I'm not going back on the pill. One, because I don't know what it did to my body. Two, because I've just got my cycle back to normal, and if I want to start trying for a baby, and I don't want to be pumping more like hormones into my body or interfering with that, so I am going to remain off the pill. Like I said, I think I'm in a good position where I'm now having natural periods every month. I think is positive, but I'm just most concerned about, will I be able to conceive? Okay, how long will it take? And I think these are normal questions for someone that wants to start a family, but it's just that uncertainty. Should I start now? Like, how, if it could take a couple of years? It's just difficult. So out of everything, that's the thing that's worrying me the most is, will I be able to conceive okay, and will there be any further issues? So I think that's natural. I think most women feel like that, but I don't know how much PCOS is going to kind of hinder being able to have a child. For anyone that's wondering, I think PCOS is a lot more common than people may think. Now, I didn't realise that it was so common. I've never really heard anyone talk about it, to be honest. I think the percentage of women that have it is quite high, and also a lot of women don't know that they have it either, which may be why some women struggle to conceive. So I'm glad that I found out now. I think it's just going to be a bit of a lifestyle change, to be honest. They say that they recommend working out 4 to 5 times a week to level out this insulin level, and then also with a clean diet apparently really helps. So a lot of research that I personally need to do still. Like I said, this isn't going to be an educational video, but I hope throughout my kind of PCOS journey I can share with you things that I've adopted, so lifestyle changes, and kind of give you more information. But I thought this would be a good opportunity for, if you're watching this, you think you may have PCOS or you've been diagnosed as well, that we can create a little community on here to learn from each other. I think that's really important. Because it's scary, and I think it would be really nice to have a kind of support system on this. So yeah, that's basically my story on how I was diagnosed. So I'm glad that I finally have answers. I think the next step is that I want to see a specialist, because I need more answers, I need more guidance and help. I felt like I was just kind of left alone in the dark, and I don't want anyone else to feel like that either. So that's why I've made this video. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments below, and if you have any advice, I would love your advice, so please comment down below and we can have a chat. Subscribe if you want to see more of my kind of PCOS journey. I will see you next time. Bye guys.
Listen, seeing you got ritualistic, cleansing my soul of addiction for now, 'cause I'm falling apart.